Okay guys, so our last thing to talk about are what's called writing inverses. We're going to continue to do this in second semester for whoever you have, but today we're just going to focus on rewriting from log to exponent form. So just as a reminder, inverses, okay, an inverse function undoes the other, so it's the opposite of it. So just a reminder that logs, you can see here, okay, they have vertical asymptotes. They will always be in this type of shape. So they are the inverses of these types, okay, of which is exponential. So algebraically, if I said to you, what is the inverse here? Your goal is you're trying to come up with something that would look like this, okay? So you want it, I should make it an equal sign instead. Your goal, okay, in this notation, the f of -1 stands for inverses. So what we have to do is write the exponent form of this to make it the inverse. You can literally do it in these 3 simple steps. So first thing is set it up as a y equals equation. So instead of f of x, I'm going to do it down here. I'm going to write y equals log base 2. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is switch the x and the y. Okay, so switch the x and the y. So literally, because they're inverses, we're going to switch exactly where they are. Now your last step is you have to do your algebra skills. You want to get the y by itself. So what we're going to do is subtract the 1 first, so it'll be x minus 1. Then this is like solving any other equation that we've done. We have 1 log by itself, so the only way to get rid of the log is to do the loop method. Write in an exponent. This has a base of 2, so I'm going to write it like this. 2 to the x minus 1 power equals y minus 4. So now to get the y by itself, I'm just going to add 4. But remember, you can't really add 4 to this -1 because that's the exponent. So you would just write your answer like this. And big thing to notice, okay, so we would write it with the inverse. So I'm going to put it back up here. If we take a look at these 2 statements, guys, this h is now, okay, so this h is now the k, excuse me, this h is now the k of the function. See, they switch. This k for the log is now the opposite as the h of that function. So you can see where they switch. That's the purpose. That's how inverses work. Let's take a look at the back. Let's try example 2 here. Okay, so now I give you an exponential function. For an exponential function, same thing. First thing is write this as a y. Next step is switch the x and the y where they are. Now your last step is to use inverse operations, work backwards to get the y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 1. Now, again, this is an exponent, so you cannot just divide by 3. Okay, this is an exponent. So you have to use a log. So this is where we do the loop method. This is the base of 3. So I'm going to write it as log base 3 of x minus 1 equals y minus 2. And last but not least, the opposite of subtracting 2 is adding. So my answer will be log base 3, x minus 1, and then the plus 2 comes right out here. And again, to show that this is inverses, whatever the function notation is, you put the little -1 at the top. And that'll always be the case. So there is the inverse. As a reminder, look, this h is now this k. This k is now this h, so keep that in mind. So pause this video, okay, for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and try these 4, maybe 10 minutes. Try these 4. Can you write the inverses based on what you did? From there, if you start the video, I'll go over them again. So pause it for about 10 minutes. Try these 4, write the inverses for each of these real quick. All right, so let's check these, what you got. From here, first thing, so switch the x and the y, rewrite it. Then I'm going to add the 4 over. Only inverse of a log is exponent, so I'm going to do the loop. Then I'm going to subtract the 2. So when you write it, your final answer, make sure you write it with that -1 up there. So there is the inverse. Again, this -1 shows inverse. Let's try this one. Same thing, switch the x and the y. Now this one's a little challenging because of this number in front. So it's going to look a little weirder. First thing is add the 4 over. But you do not do the log until you get this base of a 2 by itself. So you have to divide by -2. You can leave it just like this. Okay, leave it like that. You don't have to simplify that on the left. Now, we're going to do the loop. The base of this is 2, so I'm going to write a log now. So log base 2, and then this goes all next to it in parentheses. Log base 2 of that equals y plus 1. So it looks strange, but you did it right. Then you subtract the 1. So your final answer, log base 2 of x plus 4 divided by -2, and then the -1. That would be the inverse. Let's take a look here. This one, same thing, switch the x and the y first. Now you have to do 2 things, so you have to get the log by itself. So I'm going to subtract 1 because the opposite of adding it. Then I'm going to divide by -2. You need to get that log by itself before doing anything else. Again, I know it looks strange, but you can leave it as x minus 1 over -2. Now, they will not put, this is a common log, so again, they don't put the base of the common log. You have to add it in there. The base of that is 10, and we're going to write it in exponent form. So 10 to that power equals y minus 3. Then from there, you add the 3, but it just kind of goes on the outside. So 10 to that power plus 3. And there's your answer. Last but not least, same thing, switch the x and the y. Bring it over. Only way to get, now this is an exponent, so you have to write a log, do the loop. Log base 5 of that equals 3y plus 2. This one will look a little bit different as well, but just work backwards, subtract the 2. And then to get the y by itself, you have to divide by 3. So you can write it like this. That's completely fine, guys. This would be your answer. Or you could write it like this. Multiplying by 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3. Whatever you want to do. So we're going to continue to practice writing inverses, talking about the log graphs, want them as inverses. But for now, what you're going to do is, first thing is you're going to finish up your scavenger hunt from today. Then when you're finished your scavenger hunt, You will grab your study guides, the 2 study guides, calculator and non-calculator. They are due the day of your quarterly, so make sure you start working on them. That's your only homework. When I see you guys again on Wednesday next week, Wednesday and Friday, we are reviewing for your test.